The scheme is not that difficult. At the second coming, what we call by the Greek word parousia, the one future visible second coming of Jesus, that's all there is. At that point, all the faithful of all the years, of all the ages, including Abraham, who's the father of the faithful, all the true believers, the prophets, Isaiah, Jonah, Jeremiah, all of them, all the true believers will be resurrected by meeting Jesus as he descends to the earth, and they will be transformed and immortalized at that point. However, Revelation 20, verse 5, very expressly and importantly says, Revelation 20, verse 5, the remainder of the dead, that's to say, all of the dead who were not resurrected in that first resurrection at the parousia, all the rest of the dead did not come to life again in resurrection until the 1,000 years were finished. And guess what? When the 1,000 years were finished, what happened? They did come to life. All the remainder of the dead, everybody who wasn't resurrected at the second coming, gets his shot at resurrection then at the end of the 1,000 years. And then there's a time of probation that goes on there. And it then says in Revelation 20, if their names, that's the names of these people who were resurrected in the second resurrection, if their names were not eventually found in the book of life, implying that some of them will be found in the book of life, others will not. If their names were at that late point in the end of the 1,000-year reign, if they weren't registered in God's immortality book, his immortality register, then tragically they were destroyed in the lake of fire, which is not eternal torment. I don't think the Bible promises eternal torture for anybody, be it angel or human being. The worst that can happen to you is that you can be extinguished. That's to say, burned up in the lake of fire if your name is not finally written into the book of life. But it could be written in there during that time that you are having some kind of probation in the millennium, or after the second resurrection, that's to say. I shouldn't say in the millennium, but after the time of the millennium, when that second resurrection has taken place, then there's a chance to be written into the book of life, which you were not earlier. If you'd been home and dry, so to speak, earlier, then you would have been in that first resurrection. But we're talking about the rest of the dead, Revelation 20, verse 5, those who are not in the first resurrection. The rest of them have a shot at being candidates for immortality. However that works out, they'd have to be demonstrating how they behave in that time of resurrection, second resurrection. God would look back on their lives. And Romans 2 speaks about some who do some good things, even not as Christians. Romans 2 says there are people who by nature, and you know lots of these people, who by nature do things that are right. That's not lost on God. And they then will have a chance to improve on that, or however that works. And some of those will gain immortality in that second resurrection period. It's a beautiful scheme.